It is well known that both of the iconic Twin Towers completely collapsed on 9/11. It is less known that a third World Trade Center skyscraper, WTC Building 7, also collapsed that same day. WTC 7 was not hit by a plane, and had only a few scattered fires. This 47-story building collapsed straight down in less than 7 seconds, into a 4-story high pile of rubble.
At 5:21 in the afternoon of 9/11, almost 7 hours after the Twin Towers had come down, Building 7 of the World Trade Center also came down. The collapse of this building was from the very beginning considered a mystery. The same should have been true, of course, for the collapse of the Twin Towers, but they had been hit by planes, which had ignited big fires in them, and many people assumed that this combination of causes was sufficient to bring these buildings down. But WTC 7 had not been hit by a plane, so it was apparently the first steel-framed high-rise building to have collapsed because of fire alone. New York Times writer James Glanz quoted a structural engineer as saying, "Within the structural engineering community, WTC 7 is considered to be much more important to understand than the Twin Towers because engineers have no answer to the question, why did 7 come down?" From a purely scientific perspective, of course, there would have been an obvious answer. Scientists, presupposing the regularity of nature, operate on the principle that like effects generally imply like causes. Scientists are therefore loath to posit unprecedented causes for common phenomena. By 9/11, the collapse of steel-framed high-rise buildings had become a rather common phenomenon, which most Americans had seen on television. And in every one of these cases, the building had been brought down by explosives in the process known as controlled demolition. From a scientific perspective, therefore, the obvious assumption would have been that World Trade Center 7 came down because explosives had been used to remove its steel supports. However, the public discussion of the destruction of the World Trade Center did not occur in a scientific context, but in a highly charged political context. America had just been attacked by foreign terrorists who had flown hijacked planes into the Twin Towers. And in response, the Bush administration had launched a war on terror. The idea that even one of the buildings had been brought down by explosives would have implied that the attacks had not been a surprise. So this idea could not be entertained by many minds in private, let alone in public. This meant that people had to believe, or at least pretend to believe, that Building 7 had been brought down by fire, even though, as James Glanz wrote, experts said no building like it, a modern, steel-reinforced high-rise, had ever collapsed because of an uncontrolled fire. And so this building's collapse had to be considered a mystery, insofar as it was considered at all. But this was not much. Although World Trade Center 7 was a 47-story building, which in most places would have been the tallest building in the city, if not the state, it was dwarfed by the 110-story Twin Towers. It was also dwarfed by them in the ensuing media coverage. And so, Glantz wrote, "The collapse of Building 7 was a mystery that would probably have captured the attention of the city and the world if the Twin Towers had not also come down."